Hey there. Happy Thursday. I don't usually pop on here to Facebook Live on a Thursday. It's a weird day of the week for me. But yesterday I was with my daughter in the heart of Nice. You're never going to guess where I was taking her. Well, I'll save that for another conversation. Because I just wanted to pop on here today to very quickly and briefly ask you a question about your identity. Like, who are you? Who do you say you are? As I am hosting a show called Liberate Your Authentic Self, today I was shooting an episode with the beautiful and brightly colored Taz Thornton in the UK. And I decided to change the name of the show in honor of Taz and Taz's new book, Unleash Your Awesome. And today's episode was about, Unleashing Your Awesome, the name of her new book. But I decided to call it, Liberate Your Awesome Self. And one of the things that I love about my job is doing branding and communication strategy and content development. It's all about storytelling. So from my days way back when, doing the news, working for Discovery Channel, when you come from this non-fiction world of storytelling for the news and documentaries, you learn how to elicit emotion. Well, if you're a good storyteller, you do. And it's interesting how our stories, the stories we tell ourselves and the stories that we tell other people really define us. So all of my work is really about identity. When I do brand identity consultations, it's really about bringing out the essence of a client and then projecting that image to the world. Now, all I ever focus on is the authentic brand identity. And today's guest, Taz, is all up in there in this idea of really claiming your true self or your sovereign self. But it had me really thinking as I was doing this interview, like, Taz is a really great storyteller. Now, of course, she used to work at a publishing company, so she's used to communication. But her ability to open up and share from the heart and being really vulnerable is a gift and it's a skill. Now, what's up, Jeanette? What's up, Sarah? It's nice to see you here. I'm talking about identity, which I know these ladies who are joining me, and Candice Marie as well, you know that this is my thing. But it really got me thinking, because you see somebody like Taz, who is completely unleashed in her awesomeness. And I told her, when you see her, you guys should check her out. It's at Taz Thornton on social media. You'll see she's got this bright pink hair. She's fun, she's bubbly, she's lively. I connected with her earlier this year at the Expert Empires event where I was speaking. And of course, we just kind of locked in, hit it off, because we're both into #hippie shit. But she so owns her story that you just feel like, oh, this is just another day at the office. She's just fabulous all the time. And so I was really grateful that she was willing to be so open and raw in her book, Unleash Your Awesome, and in the interview that we did today for Liberate Your Awesome Self. But it got me wondering, wow, if more people recognized the power that we have to define who we are. Who are you? Your identity is just a collection of stories. The story that you tell yourself based on the experiences you've had. So when we experience things, whether in our childhood or even now as adults, we make certain assumptions, and then we make certain reflections, and then we make certain judgments. And sometimes the reflection piece is instantaneous. We don't sit there and think, well, why was my alcoholic father such a snot? And did he really not love me? Okay, don't ask me why the British weird voice came out. It's just what happens. But we don't have that reflection when we're children. We just have these automatic impressions that, oh, I must not be lovable, or I must not be good enough, or I have to hide, or I have to try to fit in. We make them automatically. And then for some people, the experience of our past defines who we are in the present and dooms us to a future where we're locked into that identity. But when you really start to look at philosophy and psychology and spirituality, you recognize that the personality, that mask, that ego identity, it's completely arbitrary. Your stories from the past do not really define who you really are. They're just arbitrary stories. Because why is it that somebody who grew up with an alcoholic parent who was abusive can go on and be hugely successful and make a decision never to abuse, whereas another person who had an alcoholic abusive parent might also become an abuser in their adult life? If both situations are the same, then you wonder, why does one develop into this abusive character and the other not? So there's this element to who we really are, how we process the world, and then who we say we're going to be. So who are you? Who do you say you are? Are you relying on stories from the past that are limiting? Well, as we were talking this weekend, right here in my kitchen, I had these lovely people for the Stories with Soul life writing workshop. And it was the beautiful Yvette Taylor from the Energy Alignment Method who was talking to Joe Simpson, who writes all about values and stuff. And we were sharing this reflection that, wow, we go through a lot of drama in life and we think that it has to define us and hold us down. But as soon as you realize that you are the author of your life story, then you can write your story, the end of your story. You can change your character from being a victim to a hero. So what about you? What sort of story are you living out? And are you willing to claim it, to own it, and maybe even share it? It's just something that's been striking me because, of course, I am publishing this book, Time to Rise. And many of you know I've been talking to people around the world who have decided that this is their time to rise. They've decided that they will share their story. And the interesting thing about it is we think that sharing our story, especially as a marketer or branding person, is going to be all about showing off. But it's not. It's a truly transformational experience when you can own the fact that you are the creator of your life and you are the author of your identity. So at the core of you, you are this infinite spiritual being having a human experience. And as soon as you reclaim that power, that's when you can then redesign your life. You can make it delicious and aliveful, like David Brower. Yes, and here I am. I'm back in the kitchen, David. David was like, oh, you should always be in the kitchen doing your videos. It's just because I just finished eating and I'm like, before my next interview, I'm going to jump on. So talking to these people about sharing their stories, about really, it's not about being fake. I'm not saying create a fake character. I'm saying go within, find out your strengths, your passions, and what you really have been like nudged and urged to do all along. And just decide, whether you're in this book or not, decide that this is your time to rise. Okay? That's all I'm offering you. What's up, Daria? Hello. Romeo. It's lovely to see you all here. I always like connecting, even if it's a weird day of the week. It's a Thursday. So I want to give a shout out to the people who have already stepped up and they are claiming that this is their time to rise. So we have some beautiful authors from multiple continents and countries. We have the beautiful Solveig Þórarinsdóttir from Iceland, who was just here for the Stories with Soul book writing thing. The lovely Dr. Debbie Engelman who is a co-author with me in Heart to Heart, The Path to Wellness. So excited that we're going to work together again, and some juicy stuff coming out. My dear friend and colleague, Gita Winter. You may have seen some interviews that I've done with Gita. She's the author of The Children's Meditations in My Heart. And I have an interview with her coming out in just a couple of weeks after yours, David. David Brower, your interview's coming next week, promise. We have the lovely Julia Arhus, who's also from Denmark. She is a confirmed author in Time to Rise, as well as Janet Anthony, Geneviève Pépin, who is, she's also hosting an amazing summit that I'm taking part in. So I'm like loving all this energy and this vitality that's coming through as people are willing to share their voice. Who else is in this book? Derry Llewellyn-Davies, Dr. Janet Anthony, Joanna Soares, Todd Malloy. We also have Gegga, the creator of, I'm not wearing it today, the creator of The Smiler. We have Eva Karen Walken, also coming from up north in Denmark. Mariana Popovic, Carol Taylor, did I already say Carol Taylor from Canada? Lorena Plen, Missy Crutchfield from the Gandhi Global Center for Peace. And the Gandhi Global Center for Peace is actually the nonprofit who will benefit from the sales of this book. So we are teamed up to do some charitable giving with this beautiful book. So if you happen to know anyone who wants to claim their power by writing their story, sharing their story with the world, then let them know about this program, Time to Rise. It's exciting. It's exciting for me because I don't work as a therapist. I don't work as a doctor per se anymore. But what I do love is I love facilitating the transformation and the healing. And that actually comes through my work in media and communications, bringing different interviews and experts to you, sharing my own story, which you know I'm always willing to kind of open up and share with the world. What's up, Elaine? How are you? And I think we might be having a story from Elaine as well in this book. But what I'm passionate about is showing the world that there are multiple ways to heal. There are so many ways that we can take back our power from, sometimes we gave up our power unknowingly and sometimes knowingly, getting out of bad, toxic relationships, whether that's with a lover, a drug, or sometimes other parts of the family. Just saying, sometimes you got to break up with your family. But the good news is that by claiming your authority over your life, get it? Authority, author, get it? By taking that step, you get to control how your life moves forward. And I know that can be really scary for some people because, when you're the one in charge of how you feel and the goals that you achieve, and you can no longer blame people, you can't blame society, can't blame your parents, can't blame the economy or the president or the whatever, it is scary. But if you can recognize that it then puts you in the driver's seat to create anything you want, because as a divine, infinite being, you have divine, infinite potential to create. We are co-creators in this world. This whole life experience is a game of creation and co-creation. So, Michael, you've asked, how do you heal through storytelling? Well, when it's telling your own personal story, what I've found is that there's freedom in no longer hiding. Many times we hide our hurts and our pain. I personally never shared for decades that I was dealing with depression. And I put on a face, I put on a mask like so many of us do. I hid behind my business and my job without really sharing my authentic self. And when I first came out to the world on that TED stage, that was freeing and it was healing for me. And the healing came when I realized that, one, I wasn't going to die. Because most of us are afraid to share our truth because we're afraid of rejection. We're afraid that someone's going to judge us and hate us or ridicule us. And to the ego, that feels like a real threat to our survival. But the truth is, when you share authentically from your heart who you really are, yes, you may still have people or family members who try to tear you down or who say that, oh, who do you think you are, or whatever sort of criticism. But the number of people who embraced me after I shared that on the TED stage, and I then really shared even the deeper story of my out-of-body, near-death-like experience and my spiritual awakening in the book that I mentioned with Dr. Debbie, Heart to Heart, The Path to Wellness. When I shared my story in that book, and it wasn't that I was getting calls or emails from people saying I was bad and, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. Instead, I was getting emails and calls from people I'd never met, people who were saying that my story touched them. And you don't do it for that reason, but when it happens, you realize, wow, there's so much power in owning my story and sharing my voice. And you'll hear that in the interview with Taz Thornton when it comes out, that, you know, she shares, I mean, you want to talk about a breakdown that led to a breakthrough. You know, I hit my rock bottom and then I had nowhere to go but up. Well, Taz had like multiple, you know, crashes that she shares in such detail that you're thinking, my goodness, how are you still alive and kicking, let alone out there kicking ass? And the healing that comes from us just recognizing that we're not alone in this human journey, that we all have our struggles, but that we all have the power to tap into that strength, that divine potential, that spark. And sometimes we do need a coach or a mentor who helps to bring it out, who helps to fan the flames and remind us of our divine nature. But the power that we get in owning it allows us to then touch and help other people. And that's what happened in Taz's case. You know, she told me today in the interview that it just something kicked in. She just suddenly started helping people. It wasn't that she felt sorry for them. It wasn't even that someone told her, you know, you should just go out and help others and then you'll feel better about yourself. It just happened naturally. And that's when you realize that we're in this beautiful human family. Like we're sharing this earth together and our time together. And whether you feel like you travel in soul families, you know, and you've kind of been through multiple lifetimes together, doesn't even matter. The reality is that we are connected. And now through the power of social media, we can connect with people around the world who may have never heard our story or come to an event. And just by being present and open and honest, we're actually making a difference in the world. And that's the ripple effect that I want everyone to experience. So the healing journey that we go on personally, the healing journey that we inspire and ignite in others is all that my life is about. And it just feels really great. It feels really good. I had a conversation a little while ago with Dr. Gail Friend, whom I interviewed for my Erotic Love Summit last year. And to hear some of the transformations that she's been going through and now this magic that she's sharing with her clients, there's something about it that just reminds us that, wow, we have like untapped potential. And even when you think, Gail said this, even when you think life is pretty good, it gets even better. That's what I want people to recognize, because it's easy to get bogged down right now with the sadness and depression and crap of the world. And it's easy to think that, you know, we're going to hell in a handbasket or we're doomed. But when you start to recognize that even in the midst of the chaos and the turmoil and the pain, that we have an ability to transform and thrive, to me, that's the ultimate inspiration. So I just thought I would take a moment to share that with you and let you all know why I wasn't here yesterday. I was with my daughter out there in Nice doing some girly stuff, which maybe I'll share at another date. But you know how we girls are. Sometimes you just gotta unplug and do girly things, and we had a little mother-daughter bonding time. It was nice. So my friends, I wish you a fabulous rest of your day. I pray that wherever you are, you're able to tap into that positive energy that is around and let it bring up something in you that helps keep you inspired and motivated to be more, to do more, and to share more. So I will see you here again for my live ranting, because you know how I like to do. Thank you, Jeanette, for the little hearts and love. Thank you, Michael. I hope that it was somehow inspiring, me just kind of ranting. I just wanted to share some love because I'm just surrounded by some really courageous, beautiful people. And I just had to acknowledge them. And it's one of those things that we don't take enough time to do it. You know, I was talking earlier this week to Karan Almond, who is also contributing to the book. Shout out to Karen. Hello, wonderful you. And it's just like, wow, we have to really just take note of the goodness within our lives and the goodness within each other to stay reminded that, yeah, all things are possible, even in the midst of chaos. So have a fabulous day. Much love.